top managers at publicly listed firms turn over. And they would turn over, come in, go out. And I sort of got interested in that question because I'd spent a little bit of time working at firms. I began to dive slightly deeper into the question of skill sets. Now, the problem here is that when you're looking at top management of a firm, let's say a chief marketing officer, you pretty much know them by the firm they work at or the title they hold. But you really don't know the responsibility that they have because, well, there's really no way that you can, as an external observer, that you can really find out what the responsibility of that top manager really is. And if you assume that responsibility is a good proxy for skill sets, then I think we've got something to explore here.
One way is to think of knowledge as differentiated by both tacit or explicit knowledge. So that's the knowledge you get in books versus the knowledge you get from being able to do things through experience and trial and error. It's two completely different sets of knowledge, and how you manage those sets of knowledge is very different. So accumulating knowledge for exploration requires different skills and capabilities than exploiting knowledge you already have. This paper is so interesting because what we see is the characteristics of the leaders impact the style and the type of knowledge accumulation or their ability to manage knowledge based on the duality of their roles, the expanse of their roles.
Two important variables. One is we've looked at multitasking. We mean an executive having multiple responsibilities. One example is an executive who comes into a position has responsibility for both sales and marketing. So, the sort of responsibilities that you handle do make an impact on the performance of the firm. And the other important characteristic that we were very interested in looking at was something called as investors' opinion of human capital. We're talking about publicly listed firms, right? So firms that are on the stock market. So there is, whenever there's a stock movement, and if that movement is abnormal, which means it's more than the normal or less than the normal, there seems to be something happening. We took abnormal returns as a proxy for investors' opinion of the incoming executive's human capital. So, if you're an investor in a firm and you are a reasonably large investor, you are likely to know who will be your next chief operating officer, and you will have an opinion on that. In context of high innovation firms, we found that investors' opinion of human capital and multitasking does play a big role. The other thing that we looked at is what happens in context of small firms. So relative to large firms, in a small firm, investors become a sort of a third party that is trying to justify the strategic perspective or the operations or the operational capabilities of the firm.
I published a paper a couple of years ago where I looked at professorial salaries. And, universities, we create human capital. So you would think that we'd be very good at assessing it, right? After all, we create it, we know it, we manage it, right? We were basically hopeless in evaluating and giving a return on investment to our human capital. When you talk about ROI, what should I base it on? So what Sash is referring to is these investors are in the know. They've worked with these people. They're intimately involved, and then they have a better ability to assess them. Furthermore, in a smaller company, impact of a leader, let's say a marketing leader, is going to have a greater impact than in a large company where there's a bureaucracy and there's maybe a staff of 300 marketing people as opposed to 13. So, there's so many questions we could ask to really give us better knowledge about how this plays out. And of course, these positions are only one component of what makes an organization succeed or fail. But they are key contributors. So, really we've just begun. This is like a crude observation set, which fortunately yielded results suggesting that these are very strong results. So that would suggest that the more we study it and the more parameters we're able to understand, the more we'll be able to explain. We're onto something.